Grace and peace to you from First Presbyterian Church of Rolla. My name is Jonathan Kimball. I'm an elder here. Wanted to tell you a little bit about this thing we call Fired Up. I started it probably about 5 years ago as an informal worship service, trying to be a little bit more contemporary in our music and a little bit more participative. We would meet each Thursday night at 6:30. We'd have basically a complete worship service in roughly 30 minutes. We compressed a few things, of course, in order to do that, and some more modern music, guitar-accompanied music. Unfortunately, in March of 2020, we had to suspend that whole program. I still remain hopeful that someday we'll be able to worship together in person, but for now, that is not an option. So instead, I'm coming to you on the internet and hoping to foster the same sense of community and collaborative worship that we had when we were worshiping in person. So the goal of this particular iteration of Fired Up is to allow you to worship on your schedule. The videos that I'm going to put out are about 15 minutes. They'll be on YouTube. You can watch them over lunch, during a break at work, before you go to bed at night, first thing in the morning, whatever it fits into your schedule. It's supposed to give you a chance to engage with the good news that is in the Bible. We also want to develop that sense of community that we had with our in-person iteration of Fired Up. Since we can't be together in person, we can be together online. So we will discuss the lesson on Facebook. None of us who are going to give these reflections are particularly authoritative. Maybe we've spent a little bit more time studying that particular verse than other people have, but we are not telling you what God means by the words that are in the Bible. We're just giving you our perspective on how God is working in the world and how we see the verse in the Bible reflected in the world. Other people have different perspectives. Other people live different lives. And so I would encourage everybody to participate in the conversation around the gospel lesson. So each week on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, I'll post a video. Initially, I'll be the one doing all of the reflections and so forth, but eventually other voices will get mixed in. We'll just see how it evolves. But the point is that the video will come out no later than Wednesday morning, so you can watch it at Wednesday at lunch, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, Thursday lunch, anytime during that latter half of the week, as a way to kind of work spirituality into your daily life. As I said, the worship services will be about 15 minutes. We'll open with the same song every week, Gather Us In. I really like the music of it. It's a very singable song, and yet there's a sense of completeness to the music. But more than that, I like the theology. It says, here in this place, the new light is streaming. Well, what is that place? Right now, I'm talking to you from our sanctuary. The reason is because that's where the camera is, and so that's where it's easiest for me to do this. But God is not present here any more than he's present wherever you are right now. God is always present. What's missing is awareness. And so I would like you to listen to those words of the gathering song and remind yourself that God is here. Wherever you are, God is there. You might want to light a candle or do something else to remind you of God's presence, but whether you do that or not, God is present. After that gathering song, we'll give a little context to the lesson, where it falls in the story of the gospel. So for example, a lot of the passages open with, after this, Jesus did, well, after what? And so we'll give a little bit of that background story to situate it. And then read the gospel lesson. We'll use the gospel lesson from the coming Sunday's lectionary. The lectionary is a 3-year cycle that works through kind of the highlights of the Bible. This year, in 2021, we're working mostly through the Gospel of Mark with readings from the Gospel of John sprinkled in, and we sometimes pick up other Gospels along the way also. After we read the Gospel lesson, I'll post just a picture that relates to the lesson for 20 seconds or so to give you a chance to personally reflect on the lesson. Develop your own ideas, your own way of seeing God's word. Then somebody, initially me, but maybe somebody else, will give their own reflection on it. Just a 2 or 3 minute how they see God working in the world, how they experience God's grace, God's love, God's reconciliation, God's presence. Following that reflection, we'll have a prayer. The prayer will follow the framework called ACTS, A-C-T-S. That's adoration, confession, thanksgiving, supplication. It's a commonly used structure, and hopefully it will be a model prayer that you can start working some of those same concepts into your daily prayer routine. After that ACTS-based prayer, we'll also say the Lord's Prayer. The Presbyterian version uses debts and debtors. If you want to pray trespasses, that's fine. I personally grew up Methodist, and so it took me several years to get used to praying debts and debtors. So it doesn't matter as long as it is heartfelt. And then we'll have a dismissal song. Whereas our gathering song is always going to be the same, our dismissal song will be topical. So for example, if we're singing about the call of God, maybe we'll have a song about the call of God, like, will you come and follow me? Things like that. So that's it, 15 minutes, and then we'll follow up with discussion on Facebook. As I've said, none of us are speaking from a position of authority, just a position of having studied that particular verse a little bit more this week than maybe the next person has. But other people have valid perspectives on the lesson as well. And so I would invite you to join us on Facebook to discuss it, to give us a more 3D view of the gospel lesson as opposed to the one-dimensional perspective from a single voice. I would encourage you to do that on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to try to kind of keep the conversation going as opposed to posting something a week later when other people have moved on to other things. So my hope is that we will develop a sense of community around God's Word. I think another part of developing that spiritual community is to share prayer requests. So also on that Facebook page, please share any prayer requests that, and do so in a way that is sensitive to people's privacy. So for example, don't say, please pray for my brother John Smith, whose wife just threw him out. Maybe say, please pray for somebody close to me who is experiencing some marital trouble. Something that will not violate anybody's privacy, but that still makes it personal to you. And we'll try to work those prayer requests in the following week's video. So finally, before I leave you, I'll just ask you if you would like to lead one of these services, please let me know. I already have a couple people on my list, but more voices is better. As I said, I'll do the first few just to kind of establish how we're doing things, kind of the lengths of everything, try to work through all the technological difficulties, and then in a few weeks start working in other voices. So, hope you can join us in worshiping God, in discussing how God is working in your life and how you see God in the Bible and in the people that you meet each day. Thank you.